Okay, to wrap up this evening, I can't think of a better person to deliver a meaningful message than our speaker for this evening, Ross Tucker. We already know he has a $500 limit. But we're giving him as much time as he needs to talk tonight. Ross is quite the young man who we've known for many years, dating back to his time at Wyomissing High School. We remember his outstanding achievements in football at Wyomissing and then at Princeton and on to the NFL, where he played for 5 different teams during his career. Today, as most of you know, Ross is a very popular announcer and commentator both on television and on social media. And one thing that's common, no matter where he performs, he's beloved by all. He's made us all proud for a long time, and we're excited to welcome you here this evening. So join with me in welcoming Ross Tucker to the stage. Ross.
One of the guys that they're going to be running behind is Ross Tucker, who was with the Washington Redskins and actually played for the Redskins.
Thanks so much. You're all. Thank you.
Well, guard Ross Tucker showed versatility, filling in for an injured team at center. Who's doing the show? Great set still.
That is awesome. That gets me pumped up every time. Shout out to David Causa, who put that together. So I'm here for 3 reasons, right? And it's interesting to hear Chris talk about how proud he is of his sister and brother-in-law. Number 1 reason I'm here, I love Reading. I am extremely proud that I grew up here. I loved it. And if my wife didn't have a 4th-generation family propane business in central Pennsylvania, I can assure you I would still live here. Number 2, I love public speaking. I really do. You know, it's probably the closest I get to actually playing again, because the TV stuff for the Eagles or whatever, or CBS or the radio, you're talking into a camera or a microphone. This is, when I speak, this is the one time I'm actually in front of an audience. You get the butterflies going a little bit, which I always tell my daughters, who are 9 and 11, that's a, anxiety or nerve, that's a privilege. Like, that means you're doing something cool. And then the last one, I just have a tremendous appreciation for Olivet and what you guys do. And I gotta tell you, I do a lot of public speaking now, getting more and more down in Philly. I do a lot in Harrisburg and Hershey with all the associations. This is a big time event. I mean, these 2 television monitors and like the lighting behind me, this is like an NFL event. This is one of the best environments for a speaking gig I've ever been at. This is big time. So congratulations, kudos to whoever did that. And I want to in particular thank Rachel Kuhn, as well as Chris Winters, Camille Faust, who reached out to me, Chris Kraris, obviously, Bernie Nowatarski, who took me around today to Pandora Park, which was amazing. It was so great to see all those kids putting on the Princeton helmet and shoulder pads and looking at my cleats and stuff. It was awesome. And really, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Anybody that's here either works for Olivet or is here to help contribute to Olivet. And you all deserve a lot of credit for doing that, especially the ladies who were standing there and there the whole night, doing all the, why don't I have my bodyguards tonight when I'm up here? So kudos to all of you. I don't think a lot of you know this, but I would not be up here tonight, more than likely, if it wasn't for the Olivet Boys and Girls Club, for 2 reasons. Number 1, my grandfather, Carl Bachman, my mom, who's with me tonight, my mom's dad, he grew up on 9th Street, and in 1936, he was the captain at Reading High in football, basketball, and baseball. But he would often tell my mom that he would go to Olivet Boys Club every day. We're talking the 1920s and the early 1930s, every day. So I don't know what would have happened with my pop-up if there was the Olivet Boys Club. And then the second reason, a little more indirectly, that I'm here because of the Olivet Boys Club, my first experience with Olivet was either 4th or 5th grade. I was playing CYO basketball for Sacred Heart. And I think maybe we played on Mulberry Street against the Olivet Boys Club. I'm going to fast forward. It's 22-0. We are getting smoked by the Olivet Boys Club, just killed. They were unbelievable. I think somebody dunked. It was unreal. So the ref was like Bernie. The ref was one of the guys that worked at Olivet. And he looks at me, and I'm the point guard. And I'm like 5'2" and a chubby like 140, right? And he looks at me and goes, "Hey, big man, just go to the basket." I was like, okay. So I try to dribble to the basket. I get the ball stolen. He blows the whistle, calls a foul. I make a foul shot. We went nuts. It was 22-1. We had scored against Olivet. But I mentioned that I wouldn't be here without the Olivet Boys and Girls Club. That was my first indicator that football might be a better path for me long term than basketball. So I've got two stories I want to tell you tonight. One is about the best player I ever played against. He's one of the 10 best players in NFL history. And one is about the best player I ever played with, who is the best player in NFL history. And I'll get to those in a second. But, listening to Chris talk tonight about the over 4,000 kids that were served, 400 to 500 a day, and just understanding some of the challenges that are out there, I just wanted to point out, I know with COVID and now there's some financial issues, I get that, right? Challenges, adversity, that's our opportunity. Everybody in here, including like Pat and Bernie, that's our opportunity to show what we can do, right? I mean, the first time I really had adversity probably was my freshman year of college. I mean, picture, so I'm going to Wyomissing, and back then, man, I'm telling you, I would put on my all-county t-shirt from the Reading Eagle, okay? I would put on my Wyomissing letter jacket. I would go to the Berkshire Mall, and I was so money it wasn't even funny. I mean, and there's people in here that I know, I saw them, that can vouch that that's. So then I go to Princeton. My freshman year, during football training camp, I got my butt kicked by kids that never should have been doing that to me. Like walk-ons, okay, were pancaking me. And, I had a couple scholarship offers I turned down to go to Princeton. I thought a lot of the football guys at Princeton were gonna have glasses and pocket protection. I thought it was because they run around knocking dudes out all over the field. It was not like that. It was a huge step up. And that was football, right? I was more confident in how I would do at Princeton on the football field than I was academically at, #1 school in the country or whatever. So the story I tell, hand to God, Princeton, first semester, you have to take a writing class, okay? Everybody has to take it. And you basically have to read a book every week, right? So at Wyomissing, my favorite author was well-known, Cliff Notes, for those of you that are familiar. So I go to Princeton, and I'm anxious to show I can do it. I can do it, right? So I spent every waking second reading this book, because I was okay, I gotta step up my game. I got a new challenge. I can prove I can do this. So I'm telling you, walk into class, I'm down reading the book. Even after practice, when we're all eating together, I'm reading the book to the point where the other guys on the team were like, "Yo, man, Tucker loves to read," which was not the case. I just was eager to prove I could get it done, right? So at Princeton, I guess this is what you're paying for, but they have these things called precepts. So it's you and no more than 7 other students and the professor at a circular table, just like the ones you guys are at. So picture that, professor, 7 other kids. So I'm an early riser, I'm a morning person. So I read the last 40 pages, get up at 5 a.m., read the last 40 pages. I walk into that class feeling awesome, right? I read the whole book. Like, ask me anything. So I walk in, I sit down, and the professor says to the girl next to me, Natalie, what did you think of the book? And she said, well, the first time I read it, I thought the main character was something of a Christ figure and that the book had religious connotations. I wasn't sure though, so the second time I read it, I realized it was really more about the beauty of Mother Earth than nature surrounding us. I wasn't sure though. So I dove back into the manuscript a third time, and I was mistaken. The whole book was just a metaphor for the British Industrial Revolution of the 19th century that was going on at the time of the novel. This girl had read the book 3 times. They go around the table, okay, and everybody's giving somewhat similar answers. Everyone's talking about rereading passages and hidden meanings. And all I could think is, look, I love Reading, but in Reading, we didn't get the memo that you had to reread anything or that you were looking for hidden anything. So it finally gets to me, and the professor says, Ross, what did you think of the book? And I said, I gotta be so honest with you, I'm just so happy I read the whole thing. Okay? All right, but what was the part that really stood out to you? Oh, I was like, chapter 3? When Dorothy dumped James to go out with Nicholas, I didn't see that coming. The professor was like, thank you, Ross, thank you. So what's the point, right? I ended up being 2-time academic All-American. I kind of figured it out. I kind of figured out what you had to do to succeed there, and that's what makes it great. So the challenges that Chris talked about tonight, for Olivet, for Reading, for whatever, that's just an opportunity for everybody in this room to prove what we can do. The 2 stories I have really apply to anyone in here, any aspect of life, okay? The first one, best player I ever played against, his name's Ray Lewis, okay? He was a middle linebacker. If you're not familiar with football, first of all, what are you doing? But secondly, Ray Lewis, one of the 10 best players in NFL history, best player ever for the Baltimore Ravens, middle linebacker, right? So 2004, I'm starting for the Buffalo Bills at center down at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. And during the week, I could just tell that I was going to be blocking Ray a lot. And in fact, one of the young offensive linemen said, Tuck, you got to block Ray like every play. And I said, yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to get famous. That's not how it went down, unfortunately. I'm telling you, more than half the time, he called out our play before I snapped it. More than half the time. And one time, we were running a sweep to the right, and I'm supposed to block him. He makes the tackle, I run off, and the offensive line coach says, Tuck, you gotta get Ray. I said, let me see the Polaroid. So back then, you weren't allowed to have like an iPad or whatever on the sideline. So they would take a still shot right before the snap, right after the snap. When I snapped the ball for a sweep to the right, Ray Lewis was 2 yards outside the tight end, a yard off the ball. I gave it to the offensive line coach. I said, you guys better call a different play or a different formation. He looked at it and goes, oh, shoot, yeah, you're right. But even when I did get up to block Ray, okay, every time he hit me with the hard part of his hand. So for those of you, very relevant for your places of work, but the hardest part of your hand is the butt of your hand, okay? So if you ever need just like the bottom part, that is hard, that hurts, okay? Every time I went to block Ray in that game, he would come up to me with both butts of his hands right in my shoulder points, lock me out, shed me, make the tackle. Like a lot. To the point where our running back, Willis McGahee, who you saw in the video, said, Tuck, maybe just try to cut him or something. If you're not familiar, that's just diving at their knees, right? That's like a hope and a prayer. So what's the lesson? Everybody that thinks of Ray Lewis thinks of how big he is and how fast he is and how ferocious he is. And the dance, you know, when he starts the game. The thing that makes him great, right, takes zero talent. It was all preparation. And my daughters hear it all the time. The separation is in the preparation. I am unaware of anybody highly successful in any endeavor that doesn't put a ton of time in before the event, before the speech, before the meeting, before the game, whatever it is, right? So even like tonight, I've done different variations of this speech 100 times now. I did the whole thing twice. Once on the treadmill, incline 11, speed 3.2, once on the stepper at level 8. Okay, it's 22 minutes and 38 seconds. So if you guys, just so you know, sorry, don't even get the hook. 22 minutes, right? So I always tell people, like, I wish I could give you a shortcut. There isn't. There is no other way. I'm not aware of another way. But what I learned from Ray Lewis is there's different kinds of preparation. So there's the cramming for the event, or the cramming that week, right? Which is him knowing what plays we were running or whatever. But then there's also the year-round preparation to make sure his technique was perfect. So think about your lives, think about your jobs, and what are the things that you can prepare for better short-term, and what can you do a better job of long-term? Because that's the secret. And the technique and the preparation that Ray did takes no talent whatsoever. So literally everybody in this room, in your own way, can do that. The last story I have for you, it's about Tom Brady, who I'm mad at because he retired, and my daughters are 9 and 11, 3rd and 4th grade, and every year so far, the first day of school, Daddy's been cool because they tell all the other kids that Daddy was teammates with Tom Brady. And I told Tom, I only need 10 more years. Just get me through high school. Just get me through high school. But I think he retired for good this time. So here's the Tom Brady story. So I played football for 18 years. I think all but 1 or 2, I was an offensive lineman. The most boring, mundane thing you do as an offensive lineman is you snap the ball to the quarterback, okay? It's the first thing you do every practice, and especially in the NFL, you're like, okay, I've been doing this since 6th grade, right? The center bends over, the quarterback puts his hands underneath, the center propels the ball to the top hand of the quarterback, and it kind of makes a noise, right? Like when the ball hits the top hand. 18 years of football, never played with anybody that cared nearly as much about the quarterback center snap as Tom Brady. The most boring, ineffectual thing in my mind, not to him. I mean, so first of all, this is like May. We don't even have shoulder pads on. And Tom would look at me in the huddle and say, all right, Ross, you and me, great snap first, great snap first. So I'm 27 years old. It's my 6th year in the NFL. I've started 25 games, I've played 45. I'm like, all right, I got you, Tom, I got you. In my head, I was like, okay, Tom. Like, I wanted it to be the best snap of my life, right? In his mind, so like a good snap probably sounds like that. A great snap's like, and then the perfect snap, it's like you just hit it just right? He wanted the perfect snap every time. And he was not happy if he didn't get the perfect snap. In his psychotic head, and I mean that as a compliment, if the video goes out, Tom, you know I mean this as a compliment. In his psycho head, that perfect snap, right, gives him like a millisecond more time to look at the defense. Like a fraction of a second more to get back from center. Tiny element more time to get rid of the ball. And so what did I learn from Tom Brady? You know, when you go to speeches a lot, right? People always say, work harder, you know, put more time in. That's actually not what I would tell you about Tom Brady. What I would tell you about Tom Brady is he doesn't look at anything as unimportant. And I don't know what you guys do at your businesses White Star, I'm sure you guys fill out like TPS reports or something, I don't know. Shout out Office Space, anybody knows the movie, she loves that. I don't know what you guys do at your, my point is, whatever you think doesn't matter at your place of work, Tom Brady wouldn't look at it that way. Like he would try to do it a little bit better every time. He would look at everything as a chance. And so think about that right now. Like think about if everybody in this room did everything we could do just a little bit better. Just be conscious of it, do it a little bit better. We've got a lot of nice businesses in here, right? What does that mean for those businesses? If everybody in here does everything 1% better, makes a big difference. Makes a really big difference. So that's what I learned from Tom Brady. I will say this, since I'm ending this, I gotta tell you guys a story, since there's people in here that know my sister. Speaking of Tom Brady and snapping the ball, when I got signed by the Patriots, okay, my sister called me that night and said, did you meet Tom Brady? I said, yeah, Bryn, I'm kind of on the team. I was snapping to him. Like, wait, snapping, what does that mean? I'm like, you know, I play center, I snap. Does that mean Tom Brady's hands? Yes, Bryn. I have never wanted to switch places with you so bad in my whole life. True story, true story. So, okay, what are the takeaways, right? Takeaways with the growth that Olivet is experiencing right now. More kids than ever in 2022, under Rachel and Chris and Camille and everybody, comes challenges. We can do this. Like the people in this room, we can do this. We can give them the funding and the support they need. We can show that in Reading and Berks County, we can get it done. It's an opportunity for us. Number two, the separation is in the preparation. There's not another way. You know, like people like what I do doing the Eagles games or the TV games. I put a lot of time in. I put a lot, like there is no other way. And then the last thing is just to be conscious tomorrow and when you go to work, like what are the things that you think don't matter that you could just do a little bit better? And if you did that a little bit better and that a little bit better and that a little better, like Tom Brady, what does it mean? What does it mean for your business? What does it mean for the bottom line? The last thing is I just wanted to once again thank everybody in the room, not only for the opportunity to speak in front of all of you, but I saw a lot of, whatever those things are, the back of your programs going up. I saw a lot of people donating a lot of money. That is awesome. I can't think of a better cause. I can't imagine Reading without the Olivet Boys and Girls Club. I just can't. I mean, when they say the blue door is always open, the blue door is always open, and let's keep it open. And it's been open for a long time, which is, we know that because of my pop-up, Carl Bachman, and we also know that because we're about to kick something off. So I think, is it Chris and Chris coming up? We've got sort of an announcement here to wrap things up. Thank you guys so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
You know, Chris and I are both Navy men. You know that, right?
I didn't know you were.
Yeah, he is.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.
So you know, the mark of a great speaker is when you take things away from what they said. And yours was meaningful. I got two things. One, if I ever get on a treadmill again, I'm going to have to go to the 3.8, whatever. And two, just do a little bit better every day. So we have a lot of people here from White Star that work for us. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we're having a meeting and everybody's going to do this much better every day. So see if you learned something from me. That was really a great
Thank you.
speech. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you.